Hello everyone, so let's talk about listening. Now, most estimates say that college students spend about 55% of their time listening. Now, I'm not really sure if that's the case. I mean, they may be put in a position where they should be listening, but whether or not they listen is questionable. Now, I'm not picking on college students. I think that's true for everyone in all walks of life. We're always put in positions where we should be listening, but we usually do a poor job of it. So this week we're going to focus on what is listening, why it's important to listen, and then also ways we can be a better listener, because listening is a big part of the communication process. So the definition of listening, and let me read this so I make sure I get it right, is the process of receiving and constructing meaning from and responding to spoken and nonverbal messages. So notice in there it says that part of that process is receiving and constructing meaning and responding to these types of messages, no matter how they're communicated. So let's first of all talk about barriers to listening that we all have to deal with. Now, the first thing is distractions. All right, think about it. At any given time, unless you make the conscious effort to eliminate those, there are distractions all around you. Obviously, we have the technological distractions. You have your phone. Let's say you have an iPad or even your TV at your house. All those things are things that will take your attention away from listening to somebody. It could be your environment, okay? You could be in a busy place and somebody could be talking to you, but there's all these stimuli around you that you're focused on. I mean, there could be a loud sound over here or an unusual thing going by you, and you pay attention to that instead of listening. So all of the distractions that are around us every single part of the day, other than when we're sleeping, can be a hindrance to listening. Now, the other thing is conversational narcissism. One of the videos you'll watch for this week deals with conversational narcissism. So that basically in conversational narcissism, you're focused on you. The other person is talking, but all you can think about in your brain is what you have to say, because what you have to say is more important. So that noise that's in your head of all the things you want to say to this person keep you from listening to what that person has to say. The next one is competitive interrupting. Now, this is goes along with conversational narcissism, but it's when you're constantly interrupting this person and you want to say what you have to say. You're not even going to wait for them to get done. You're again going to interject with what you have to say. Do you know those types of people? Hopefully you're not one of those types of people, but from time to time, we do get into that sort of situation where we're just so focused on what we have to say, we're not listening to anyone else. Then there's glazing over. Like if someone's talking, or let's say I post a video here that is 45 minutes long and you're going to try really hard to watch it, but you're just kind of glazing over, listening for the important parts, or trying to hear the important parts, but you're not really listening. And then there's pseudo listening. I do this one all the time, I'll confess. Pseudo listening is where you're not really listening, but you're going, really? Wow, crazy. You're not listening at all. You don't want to be rude to the person, but inside your brain, you're really thinking, oh my gosh, this is a terrible story. Just shut up and move along. I confess, it's not the best way to go about having a conversation with a person, but all of these things we do from time to time that distract us from listening. And one thing that we have to understand is that listening is an active process. I think a lot of times we think, okay, well, I can just sit here and listen. That's not the case, unfortunately. We are just so distracted as human beings that we have to really put ourselves into a mode of, okay, I'm going to focus. I'm going to listen to what this person has to say, and then we can actually really understand the meaning from that conversation. Now, since we're talking about active listening, let's talk a little bit about the things that we have to do to be an active listener. So one of the first things we can do to become an active listener is we can use our body language. We can physically turn ourselves to that person and look right at them for lack of a better term, square up on that person and look at them and listen to them. I think the fact that we actually turn our bodies to a person and really focus in, that kind of helps. The second thing is eliminating distractions. You know, I have a lot of people at work come to my office, and I have my phone, I have 2 big monitors, and my computer makes a sound and a pop-up every time I get an email, and it's really difficult for me to sometimes focus when I have my phone and I can see it going off on the side. I can see my computer screen. Sometimes I'll actually get up and move to another chair in my office so I'm not seeing those things, so I can actually listen to that person. I mean, it's the same thing when the phone rings and I still have my computer in front of me. Or maybe you're at home watching TV and somebody calls and you're trying to talk to them and listen to them while a football game or a basketball game is on or whatever else. So a lot of it has to do with turning to the person, eliminating all the distractions, and really listening for that meaning. Now, the next thing we can talk about is some responses that can put us in a position to listen more by how we respond to the other person. Now, one of the first responses we can give to a person when we're listening is an evaluative response. So let's say the person is telling us a problem that they're really concerned with, that's really overwhelming them. And we basically say, okay, so let me see if I can see what you're saying here, and repeat it back to the person. That can be a really big part, or a really good strategy to listen to another person, because, and let's just take it out of listening for personal comprehension and personal knowledge. Let's say we're listening to maintain relationships with other people, which is very important. If you think about it, think about those people in your lives who truly listen to you. Those are typically your most meaningful relationships. So we need to be as good of a listener as they are. The next thing you can do is advising. Obviously, when somebody gives you a problem or presents you with a problem that they're having, you can really listen to that person and then give them some advice about that problem. The next one is a probing response. That's where when a person talks to you and you ask questions back about what they're trying to say to you, that can let that other person know that you're listening and trying to understand what they're saying to you more by asking those questions. Obviously, supporting. I mean, if a person is really upset, talking about something that is really affecting their lives, saying, man, I understand. I've had that situation happen to me before, and I know it stinks. I hate that for you, but you know what? I'm here for you. Let's just talk this out, okay? Going along with the other one is understanding. Okay, sometimes when people talk to you, they don't want advice. They just want to feel heard and feel understood. And so responding back to the person that, hey, you know what, I understand this really bothers you. I can see that you're really having a tough time. And just continuing that conversation. Now, I know for some of you that just may feel overly emotional, way too touchy-feely, but these sorts of things are important in building relationships with other people. And part of really effectively communicating with other people is developing positive relationships with those other people through communication. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be best friends with everybody, but what I am saying is people need to know that, hey, this person is a good listener. Hey, I can come to this person with a problem and I can trust him or her with it, and they're going to listen to me. And I think that part, again, and I'm going to hit this on every single video this semester, it goes back to the we orientation of listening. You're putting the other person in front of you when you're communicating. And I think that will help you develop a good reputation as a communicator.